week it has been at the 9th Kyochon 1991 Ladies Open. Far from how it was scripted, if there could ever be a script, what was supposed to be a 54-hole competition to crown a champion here at the Asiade Country Club in Busan has turned into a 36-hole war of attrition. The biggest competition, not the 132 players in the field, but rather the elements. That's the reason why we have turned this into just a two-round race to the finish line. And whoever prevails at the end of this afternoon will certainly be deserving champion. But has transpired over the course of our game. We say good afternoon. You are more than welcome, and we appreciate your viewership. As we are in the 2-hour sprint to the first round of as we begin this disjointed day that's some players tee off, finish the second round successfully, and others still out on the course. Cody Holland has a 3-stroke advantage. Consistent bars, directions, 3 under 4 round in progress. Only a hole-in-one on 16. One bogey that came on 10 currently. She is under par, tied for 11th, but is not going to make any ground with that short effort that runs out of speed. It is still far from perfect conditions. Cloudy, rainy, certainly on the cooler side at 11 degrees, but only 3 millimeters of rain today compared to when we started the broadcast yesterday, and we were looking at something like 140. See a birdie putt from Kyochon on 4. It's going to start downhill. A little bit of break, and then it rises up again. Has that wonderfully on line. So she gets back to where she had started the day, a round that has seen 2 birdies and 2 bogeys. 5 back of the lead, but only 2 back of a share of runner-up position, with 800 million won in the purse this week. On to 9. This is Kime Reem. Not able to clear the fringe. In fact, a bit more backspin to stay off the green. On the approach at 4, she will be the most, or still the furthest away of the group, but everyone is putting. And more approach shots being played with the wind at her back on 9 to within about 4 feet. Excellent touch from the wily veteran, who is one of those players at 3 under. There are 4 of them at the minute. The downhill putt looking at a birdie. It needs to straighten out. Looked for a moment like it was going to snap away, but stays on just long enough as our leader picks up another birdie. You can see that's 3 plus the ace at 16. She is absolutely cruising. Now with a 4-stroke cushion in search of her first ever win. She missed the cut last week at the 45th KLPGA Championship. In fact, she's missed the cut twice this season, including the Lotte Rent-A-Car Ladies Open. It would be on brand for this season, has been the year of first-time champions. And now inching ever closer, but just running out of speed. So a 2-putt par. Birdies have been a bit of a luxury. Kyochon is +1 after a 68. She was the clubhouse leader at the conclusion of round number 1. Back to 9 with Kime Reem at +1. It's been a fairly popular score. 10 players level at that mark. It's quite the disparity from 7 under at the top to +9 down at P120. Well, the signature hole of the Asiade Country Club, and it's not particularly close. The gorgeous scenic island green, 3 bunkers to defend the pin, 20 meters down the hill from the teeing ground, over the pond and the water fountain that's on a little bit later in the year usually. Pin placement today in the second round, you can see it. Only 8 yards off the right side of the green, and it's playing shorter than it was supposed to be. It was going to be 141 meters, which would be the blue tees, but they've gone to what would normally be the whites, just shortening the hole. Kyochon, the first to tee off, and lands that comfortably in the center. Don't want to go too narrow and risk bringing those drenched bunkers into play. On to 9, Kime Reem unable to save a par, and the body language shows her disappointment quite viscerally. So that will drop her to +2. This is 73 in round 1. She's on pace to do it again, but 9 holes still to play. The effort from a pretty good spot in the fairway turns out to be the wrong club selection. And about a 5-footer on Sunju. Has her birdie at 9. 3 under her score, halfway through her second and final round. This is how we're shaping up at the moment, with only 15, 16, 17, and 18, 4 holes remaining for Bakbo Guillaume, already at 4 under, which is far and away the best score of the round, comfortably ahead as she tries to chase her first professional victory. 4 players tied at 3 under, an additional 5 at 2 under, and 10 more who are under par. Even, which is a great score considering everything that has transpired this week, currently sees 9 players out of the 132 that began the event level with the E beside their name. We are live from the southwest of the Republic of Korea, one of the major metropolises, the largest city outside of Seoul, the capital, is the wonderful Busan. This patio dye designed course, the LPGA International. It's almost at the point where Bogyam has this out of reach. A couple more birdies on the home stretch, and surely it's there. Why not add another on the par 3? That is 3 birdies in a 4-hole span. That's something that almost nobody else is able to say, and she makes the island green look like nothing more than a kitty cat, just easily tamed. Well, that is, of course, one of the superstars, the mega stars, Park Ji-young. On pace for another top 10 finish this season. Over to 5, Kim Woo-jung, 143 meters. Over the treacherous stretch of nature that separates the fairway and the hole. Will run it up along the fringe, but is unable to stay on the green. Took a pretty direct line. Bit of a headwind and a left to right push, factoring into her missed green in regulation. But Jiang able to salvage her par, stays at 2 under. It was a blip, no doubt, missing the cut last week with consecutive rounds of 73 to start the tournament at the Chris FNC 45th KLPGA Championship. Otherwise this year, the champion of the Hana Financial Group Singapore Women's Open, the runner-up at the opening event of 2023, the Lotte Rent-A-Car Ladies Open, another top 10 finish the following week, the Mediheal Hangugulbo Championship, and then 12th at the Nexen St. Nine Masters. She leads the tour in the season prize money category. She is second in the points on 155 and is on pace for another good haul. So you're at the bottom of the mini leaderboard in the bottom right of your screen. Should be noted, Oh Soo-min, the amateur, 2 under, tied for 7th. That's very, very well played from that young woman. And on to 9. An approach shot with about 14 yards too shallow. Hong Jung-min today and this week. He's played some pretty consistent golf. He is down at 1 under par, tied for 11th, as we go back to 6 in Juyan. Gets a lovely little kick, and that's going to go to within about 5 feet. Couldn't ask for a much better tee shot with that pin placement today. And So Hyun did have an ace on this very hole earlier in this first round. Son Ye-bin also on 9. Also rolls to a stop just before the upslope. Another good wedge shot to start the par 3. And a spell of trouble. The drive that made a beeline into the hill off to the left. This is how it looked. Wrong side of the cart path and into the trees. Ends up only being 163 meters. I believe that actually hit one of the trees before dropping straight down into the tall grass. That's about as buried as you can possibly get. Not to mention how off kilter, off balance it's going to be. Head back to the rough in a moment. In the meantime, short effort from the fringe, uses the backspin to take off all the speed, as that is tucked up within a foot or two. Kim Woo-jung looking to bounce back. From quite a ways back, comes awfully close, but Son Ye-bin, it is a par. She goes out with a 35 through 9 holes. Curious to see just how aggressive she tries to play this. Swings herself out of her feet. Is almost able to get all the way down to the green. She's just on the front of it. A golden opportunity for Hong Jung-min to move on up the leaderboard. But as disappointing as a par can be, she goes +1 at the turn. Kim Woo-jung, an uneventful par. And she is running out of holes to make a push, though that can be said for many. After one of the better tee shots at 6, it's shocking not to see a birdie carded there. Our leader looks like it would take a minor miracle to find another birdie. He should be just fine with a par at 7. It's a tricky one. Has to get this clean and lofted to about midway from the fringe and the flag. They'll get a little help from the wind to push. It's a makeable par. By no means an easy one, however. Tidy play on 6, as that is now 4 birdies on the day for Yin Ju-yeon out of seemingly nowhere. She gets herself much closer to the thick of it. 2 under now and a tied for 7th. Look north into the mountains. One of the great shames about the weather this week that was way worse than just about anyone had expected, as it has thinned out the galleries that would typically be packing those bleachers behind 18. Kim Woo-jung is the next to try her luck on number 6. Parted in round 1, did have a birdie on the par 3 third to about 7 feet short of the pin. Han Sun, even with only 4 holes remaining in her tournament. Just and only just eludes the sand and rolls through the fringe to a 5-foot position for a birdie of her own. It's looking pretty comfortable and close to wrapped up already for Pak Bo-gyam, who has been on tour since 2017, but never in her career has she found a better result than 5th. It would be her first time on the podium. It would be her first time as a champion, which has been done before at this event. Pak Bo-mi had done it a couple of years ago, and she would be the 4th new winner in 2023. We wait for Kim Jung to finish up. We head to 9. And a tough week, tough couple of days for Park Yang-kyung. Narrowly inside of the top 100 at +8, but she'll have an opportunity for one more birdie on the 9th hole. She's one of the members of the later groups to tee off, only on 9, still with half of her tournament to be played. She's close to the finish line, but she's certainly not there yet. This for bogey would reduce her advantage to just 3. So only has 2 more holes to try and create some pad for herself, with the closest challengers being An Sunju at 3 under through 10, and Kim Min-ju at 4 under through 11. Park Ji-young playing her 4th. It will still be a rather long look to avoid a bogey of her own. Much more confident swing. She heads to the right side of the fairway, but importantly for her, after being in the thick rough at the last, it's a much more run-of-the-mill position from which to play her approach. Now on 7. It's not a bad end result considering the blustery winds at her back. Still rolling a little bit closer. Finally comes to a stop. About 9 feet deep past the flag. A long and drawn out putt calms the nerves. Han Sun is back under par. Start of the day with a bogey. Add another one later in the round, 2 birdies to be dead even. And starting back, runs just a little bit short at the very end. Will be a bogey for Park Ji-young. So 6 on 9, she goes out with a 36. Bak Young, 2 birdies in a 3-hole span. She's up to T87 with still half a round to push up. The gap narrowed between Bak Bo-gyum and her closest challenger, Kim Min-ju, after her bogey on her 15th hole of the round. Just 2 to go. Another birdie would go a long way to creating the pad she needs as she tries to chase down the first win in her career. From the right side of the fairway, over the fringe and onto the dance floor. Work is cut out for her. There's no denying or arguing that. Into about hole high. Fast and furious around the course. Hunching Sun on her approach. A hop, skip, and then a big time roll. The upslope will take some of the speed off and park her about 10 meters or so back and left. Now the approach from the left side of the fairway, heading right towards the flag. That's in nicely. Jung is next on 7. She'll enter tournament with 2 par 4s and the par 5 9th. Stops up on the fringe, but not the worst position to play a birdie shot. On the 8th is Bak Bo-gyum, 16 holes down. Hung Jung Mi through 17 moves herself up into a tie for second position. Two great scores from the M's. MGU T11. Osumin, one shot lower. Well, the final group is just a duo, and quite the impressive duo, with Pak Jiyoung and Pak Yang at 1 under and +7 respectively. We will likely know the results as they work their way into the clubhouse. It would need to be a birdie brigade for Pak Jiyoung to make her way back into the hunt, but never say never. More from the 9th Kyochon 1991 Ladies Open, the second and final round of the event, when we return. Our leader is through 35 of 36 holes, has a par to stay at 7 under and 3 clear at the moment. And now working back down on the back left of the green and not going to be advancing any further than that. Now a right to left breaking putt. Needed to inch a little bit more to the left for a birdie, but no dice. Well, the gallery immediately went good shot. She knows better than anyone what's normal. Rolls off the fairway and will come to rest on the edge of the cart path. Just struggling a little bit with the driver the past 4 or 5 holes now. Now this 4-footer wasn't supposed to be uneventful, and it isn't. Able to hole out. Kyochon will be next, 145 meters for her. On her approach at 8, her penultimate hole. Tries to run it through the fringe. Needed more club. She's quite the ways back. She's actually probably lucky that she is still in the fringe. It'd be an easier chip than it would be a putt. And back to Young. She's a +4. Also shallow, but on the correct side of the green. the tee of the par 3. You would think the bare minimum expectation would be to reach the green, but a little bit more trouble than would seem on paper. I mean, at least it's easy to find your ball in that case. Just follow the cart path down, take your relief. Another one that proves to be more challenging than it ought to is there's not enough carry to find the green and stay put as it hits the edge and drops off into the rough before the green. It's getting a lot more interesting with Hung Jung Mi now into the top 2, tied at that mark with Kim Min Ju, who is the most likely challenger of anyone still remaining in the field to try and prevent Pak Bo-gyam from winning the first event of her career. Well, from high above the course, a look down at 18. A long putt into the wind. Here comes the break at the end. This is on line and would have been there for a glorious birdie with just a fraction more pace.
근데 방향 보니까는 이 슛 위로 그냥 딱 다르거든요. 왼쪽 슛 위로. 네.
Well, our leader has reached her ball, takes her driver's length distance, has to put it up into the hill. Blasting it back had been 234 and returns to the fairway. There's several of these on the par 3. Not quite anywhere near the pin. So 2-putt par is what we'll consider as a good result here. Kim Min-ju is on 13 and trying to put the pressure on. Approach shot's coming thick and fast. Use that same turn of phrase to describe that particular effort, as it was unable to stop in time to stay in the fairway. Now out of the fairway and dropped in with expert precision. Not quite enough to call that a gimme, but certainly impressive. And approaching into the wind. It's going to need a little bit more club. Doesn't come, and well, it'll be a challenge. Yo, +2 on the par 5 ninth. Looking to end the tournament just one over. Here is the birdie bid. It was pretty clear pretty quickly. There would be no joy. She stands over this putt. Her advantage is 3. Can she make it a 4th? These are the final moments in her round where every shot, every opportunity here is of course magnified. Hard to put into words the level of pressure that you feel when you're chasing after a lifelong dream, finally getting your win. So it was going to be tricky, if not impossible, from that spot on the fringe. Well, 74 to open the tournament and just unable to survive the day. EJ on with a 77 in round number 2. That is where she departs. Not a bad try, but not going to impact the scoreboard as Kim Woo-jung has just really started to stall out here. This stage of the tournament, never the time you want your putter to go colds. Park Bo-gyam, a par, and she is in the clubhouse. 69 in round 1, 68. She exits at 7 under in a 3-stroke lead, and now she has to watch in anticipation, and I'm sure the nerves will crash over her like a waterfall. Her closest challenger with the most holes on her side is Kim Min-ju, 4 shots back. She should celebrate, even though the win's not confirmed. It certainly feels like the most likely outcome, and what a historic moment it would be. Back to 18, Hoda Bean. Would have been a birdie to take her to 2 under and inside of the top 10, but it draws away, fades away, and she will have to settle for a par. So 143 strokes, her aggregate score. Hangs her head in some obvious disappointment. She was quite confident as she stood over that putt. And Sung-yi, who had been very much in the hunt the last couple of events, able to find the green with her approach shot. So our leader is done. All 36 holes that she will compete this week. And that 7 under score for the tournament. And the 68 for the day is confirmed. Hang Jung-mi is also in the clubhouse with a 71, as is Chung Ji-min 2. Kim Woo-jung on her 18th and final hole. Moon Jung-min has 4 to play and is 4 back. An approach that comes close, but doesn't have that last little burst. To fully reach the green. Sonia Bean on the tee blocks on 13. Still 6 holes to play in her final round. It's on the green, but a mile. It will feel still short. Coach Yu is next to tee off. He's at +6. Into a bit of a warmer environment as scorecards are being signed. And players who aren't willing or able to stick around make their way back out into the elements. It's, of course, a scorecard that, if it ends up being the win, she'll want to hang on to. She's on pace no matter what to finish with her best ever career result. All business for Pak Ju Young as she comes up out of the sand onto the green. Don't see her as frequently as we had done a couple of years ago. No doubt she'd like another go around at that as she's on, but still quite far out on 14. This is a very important putt for classification purposes for Yan. And one last birdie to end the day. What a tremendous performance she was able to put in with a 68. 3 under is tied for third. She really had to battle back and was making shot after shot after shot. Kyochon. Anything but straightforward. Where she currently is at even, tied for 22nd, sharing that with 9 others. This could take her to a top 15 finish. Just that late break at the end prevents her from going up. So 144 aggregate score, 71 and 73. To 13. From the back left of the par 3, Hong Jung-min is a howitzer. So much speed and even hit the flag just a little bit too much, and there will not be a miraculous off-green birdie from her. Not so young. After a decent drive to start the hole, she'll have a clean look down at the pin. Bounces in that stretch of rough between fairway and green and does not advance any further than that. Minju, back-to-back bogeys now. That is great news for Pak Bo-gyam. Terrible news for her in her pursuit of a title. Dropping that in with a little razzle-dazzle. despite the crowd doing their best to influence that putt. Doesn't drop. Just inches shy. It's far from a tournament that doesn't have much to be celebrated, but the slowdown in the final round will sting a little bit. Bit more backspin on 14, and that's a tap-in birdie. Pacquiao teeing off on 13. So Young was her effort for one final birdie. Opportunity for par of about 6 feet in distance. ENG, who is picking her way about the course. Just quietly had a pretty impressive day today, up 15 spots into a tie for 13th. Let's move on to the 14th tee, Son Yebin. It was a very uneventful opening round for her. A birdie at 2, a double bogey at 15, all pars otherwise. Today, a lot more birdies, 3 of them in fact. Bogey at 8 as she finds herself 1 under for the tournament, with 5 remaining. Kim Woo-jung through the first 18 holes, no bogeys, 4 birdies today. 2 bogeys and just 1 birdie. This her final hole, 5.5 meters and downhill. It would be splitting the runner-up position at least momentarily. Downhill, and it's going to move to our right. There it goes. Great putt. In terms of a cash payout, a cash prize, a big putt. In terms of being more like what we saw from her yesterday. Fantastic.
네, 하겠습니다.
How close is that? Be a disappointing one. And Jin Sun could have stayed 1 under. That last little hiccup of 73. She is at a 144 as well for the tournament. There's no doubt she'd love another go at that. She tries to putt through the fringe and never the speed. Back on the par 3, glancing the cup, but no dice for Lee Jung-min, who won the very first edition of this tournament. Expected her to be undoubtedly a bit scrappier this week. Been an up and down start to the year. She still has some wins, I think. Just not the consistency this week. She tried to become the second repeat champion. Only Kim Reem has done that. A bit too softly struck for Chung Yoon-ji. Moon Jung-min is posing a challenge, but only has 3 holes left. Would need an eagle or a birdie on each of those last to force a tie. An Sun-ju, someone else we keep an eye on 13, Park Ji-young, well, she would need 5 birdies in her final 6 holes. It's not impossible, but it is becoming increasingly unlikely as Park Bo-gyam is sitting pretty atop the leaderboard here at the 9th Kyochon 1991 and Ladies Open. More from the Asiade Country Club on the other side of a quick break. this stage of the event. Those misses feel all the more excruciating. She is one of the final challengers remaining on Sunju. Not a bad putt, but she needs consistent and exceptional on the march to the clubhouse. Quite the tidy little shot from right around the cart path. Sun Ye-bin is able to recover and rediscover the green. A high pitch and all the way into the hole. That was almost out of sight in the rough, how thick it had been. And don't look now, but an eagle on 14 and a birdie at 12, and Hong Jung-min is right back into contention. Out of nothing. What a great shot that was. From the fairway to the border of the fringe. No replicate magic like we had only just seen. Starting to heat up, it must be said. Well, she goes and collects. She hadn't been playing poor golf by any stretch of the imagination, but she certainly wasn't making shots like that. It has an entirely different feel now. And the leaderboard's going to look a heck of a lot different now, all of a sudden. And if you're our leader in the clubhouse seeing the replay of that, you're thinking, I tip my cap to you. But also, you feel a little bit less confident at the top. And a quick reset, a 3-stroke advantage still. Hong Jung-mi, Kim Woo-jung are done. Moon Jung-min has 3 holes left, playing on the front 9. Hong Jung-min, she still has some time, and will be playing with all the confidence in the world. 4 holes, and she needs 3 strokes. It'll be a disappointing one for Sonia Bean, who put together such a great approach shot to set up a very makeable one-putt scenario.
아니? 천천히 이제 갔어.
Both she and her caddy dropped to her knees, knowing how close it had come, but this has not been many, if any, low scores for her to celebrate today. Park Ji-young, it's will essentially come down to whenever she is able to finish, when we will know one way or another for certain. Despite the gallery's best efforts, again, it teeters, hangs over the lip. Would have been a remarkable birdie, but instead it's a nudge with the wedge. We've seen this a time or two, or more like 15 today. On the fringe and off in the blink of an eye. Now, to her credit, from that particular approach, there was absolutely no angle at the green as she had gone left off the tee. And Sunju. Third shot on 5. After she let an opportunity for birdie go by the wayside. And unable to reach the green. A bit quiet today from Sunggaeun. Quiet this week, quite frankly. On the green with plenty of work still to be done. Park Ji-young from the thick, wet rough with 89 meters to make up on her approach. It's about as tough as you'd expect, and about the result that you would expect as well. Now An Sun-ju almost makes the best out of a tough lie. Maybe another hole where she gains no ground. Unplayable lie, Kim Reem will take her drop. It'd be pretty incredible if she were to have been able to find a way to get win 4 in just the 9th edition of this tournament. She's not miles away by any stretch, tied for 13th. As she plays, that was a high speed chip back across the middle of the green. A long putt. Needed it to stay left. Instead goes right. Quick realignment and a tap in. Now inching to within about 4 feet of the flag, slight uphill putt. Triumphant and spectacular putt from Chung Yoon-ji, who has a bogey-free round in progress. Too little too late for her, but considering she was over par, he has done so well to manage the course. Working towards a top 10 finish. Some guy on that would have taken it +3, but unable to keep it left enough. Kimerim, I mentioned that things have been going well. Double bogey certainly does not help her stay anywhere near the top 20. Sunju rolls in another par. Look says it all. She's only been able to find one birdie today. It was back at 9. Working its way. One of these, you'd have to think, has to go. How many times have we seen her do that? She's a bit snake bitten. That's the obvious analysis on that. And then Sung-Yi, she is just outside of the top 20. She's still at even. Has not been able to go low with any kind of flow and consistency. Moon Jung-min on 15, within 3. Moon Jung-min, now she's on 17. Her penultimate hole, she's within 3 as well. Running out of time, and it's looking a lot better, but certainly not quite there yet for our leader in the clubhouse, Pak Bo-gyam. Her best career finish, will it be her first ever victory on the LPGA Tour of Korea? We will know in about an hour's time at the drizzly Asiade Country Club. Well, we're settled in for the home stretch. Great to have you along with us. This final round, what should have been the third round, ends up only being round number 2. And it is a race to see if anyone can knock the top spot off of Pak Bo-gyam. Absolute gem of a golf club. Designed by the world-renowned Perry O'Dye. Also Dr. Rhys Jones. It is theater as much as it is sport. And the final act is Hong Jung-min in the spotlight. After an eagle at 14, a birdie at 12, she has maneuvered herself 3 back, but that par is one she might rue as she is down to 3 holes. We go to 16. An Sun-ju, 4 back on 16. At this point, it is looking like a challenge for a podium place. You have to wonder what must be running through that young woman's mind. A week away from her 25th birthday. Never has she podiumed, never has she won. All she can do is sit, wait, and hope. I'm going to go to 15. Pak Yel, who's at even. Certainly low by her high standards. Her approach shot here on the par 5. That is wonderfully played. She is up 24 positions from where she had been at the end of round 1. 2 bogeys and 4 birdies in the round with a really good chance at a 5th. Pak Yang-young and Pak Ji-young, they comprise the final group. Shouting 4 as that's headed left. Skips up high, and she's actually going to get a couple lucky bounces and rolls down the cart path. And that's not done. There might be 20 more yards or so in that. She hasn't had many fortunate breaks the past few weeks. She'll take that one. Pak Ji-young inside the top 10. 1 under for the day. She's also hooked this pretty good. She won't have the fortuitous cart path bounce and roll, however, but both members of the final group are left. Pak Ji-young has not found a birdie in this stretch. 11 is the last hole that she has been able to put a scorecard or a circle on the scorecard this week. We go to 16. Zhang Yunji has been one of the best performers in this second round. An uphill and 9-meter look at another birdie. Can that get all the way there? Nope. Not enough pace to get fully up the hill. She's up 19 spots. She's one of the hard chargers of this final round. And for a while, Kim Min-ju was right in the thick of this late round push, but back-to-back bogeys at 13 and 14 have her out of contention. Her approach on 17. Becoming a recurring theme for An Sunju. Neither Park Ji-young or Park Young-young were likely anticipating a hike at this stage in the tournament. I don't know what about this I like for her. I don't know what about this she likes. If it was flat, maybe say get the hybrid out and just try and punch it under that tree branch. But because the ball's under her feet in her stance, I don't know how she can do anything other than lay up. But that's why she is the professional golfer and I am just the announcer. Go to 17 in the meantime. In the rough between the green and the fairway. Just fractionally off. If she hits the flag, it's probably dropping. Going for a little bit more of an aggressive approach as she tries to push into the top 5. Seven iron on the final par 3 of the tournament for Hong Jung-min. Birdied here yesterday. Can she replicate? She is lucky to avoid a worse outcome as she was very much to the right. Another bit of good news for our leader. It's 261 to go. Gets the iron. Of course she grabs some of the branch, but what does it do? It's going to drop her into the rough again. Not a terrible lie, but certainly not out of the woods. I guess maybe a little bit out of the woods in the literal sense. On the tee at 16 with Sonia Bean. Won't count her out. That would be one of the more impressive birdies of her second round. And the Galler is going to have to make way as she takes her free relief from stopping on the cart path. After a 78 in round one, she has been able to play even par golf despite going bogey to start her day. At 571 yards, 522 meters, this is very easily the longest hole on the course. I love this. You consider that the entire yardage, meterage of the two courses we were playing is 6,002 meters. This particular 15th hole is 522 of that. And look at that, San Sung-yi, she said, well, the putter's cold. No birdies for me with the putter, so I might as well just get it done with the pitching wedge. And finally gets her second birdie of the day. 1 under is where she goes now after a great shot from the fringe. Eight iron on the tee for Kyochon. +7 with 3 holes to go. The last to tee off in this group that does contain Hong Jung-min. Unfortunately gonna slide further and further away on the wrong side of the slope. And 5 wood for Pak Young. We'll head to the right, the red stake by the OB mark. You ask yourself, how much extra did she get from the cart path? And that shows you she's almost able to reach into it. It ended up being a 280-yard drive. A tee to calm the nerves that could quite quickly become champagne. Play cool. Must be what she's thinking right now. Bogey for Kim Min-ju on 17 drops her to 1 under. Unless she has another eagle up her sleeve. Likely needed that birdie. A valiant try from about 28 meters, or 28 yards away, excuse me. She converts on that par putt. She will need some combination of 3 strokes picked up. That might have been the missed tee shot that gives the tournament to Pak Bo-gyam. And Sunju on 17 again. It's not quite the power to get all the way onto the green. And was thinking about making that final little dramatic dip to the left, but it is a 2-putt par for Son Ye-bin. Well, it might have just been unofficially clinched, ladies and gentlemen, for Pak Bo-gyam. 68, the nerves of steel, and what a round it had been. What a weekend, quite frankly. 4 birdies, a hole-in-one on 16, and maybe just her first ever professional victory, and a nice payday of 144 million won. Field's starting to fade into the background, and the celebrations could soon be on. Stick with us as we continue to work our way towards the finish line here in the final round. It's getting to the point that every time Pak Bo-gum looks over at the television, she's on it. She's passing the time. At least doing her best to pass the time. I love an ambitious, no-quit type of athlete. Matches the persona of this course. I love the CEO saying we have a goal of becoming not just the best club in Asia, or not just the best club in Busan, excuse me, but the best club in Asia. Certainly, Mother Nature isn't painting it in the best of lights, but it is gorgeous with a little bit of everything. Playing the valley and lake courses. 1.4 million square meters. Pretty impressive property. We go to the 16th tee. It's an 8-iron for Bakyal. She's gonna roll on down towards hole high. Well, not the ideal way to play this par 5. Park Ji-young showing a bit of frustration. Speaking of frustrations, and Sun Ju will be feeling a healthy dose of that. It's still a great result for her if it stands, but ran out of birdies today. Park Young had run out of birdies yesterday. She should never, ever have finished with the par with a lucky break off the tee when it could have been disaster. ENG with 3 birdies on the day, still at 2 under. Just one more hole and she will have secured a top 10 finish. An uphill putt for birdie on the par 3. And a good bounce back. That is number 5 on the day for Park Yeol. Closing in on a top 10 finish. Just as Park Bo-gam is closing in on a title. It's becoming increasingly clear that no one will be able to catch her. Her closest challengers, Moon Jung-min on her final hole, 3 back. Hong Jung-min on 17, also 3 back. The math is in her favor, certainly. And what a early birthday present to give herself less than a week before she turns 25. Well, she needs an eagle at this point for the win, but I think a birdie down the stretch and outright second is still very much a possibility. Not able to get up onto the green. Still inside the top 100 golfers in the world. It would be a remarkable 6th runner-up finish. The only time she has stood atop the mountain was last year at the Doosan Match Play Championship, which is coming up. We'll head to Suwon next week. The 3-round NH and Investment Securities Ladies Championship. The 2023 Doosan Match Play Championship will be the following week at the Dana. If there was ever symbolism for how the season has gone for Park Young thus far, it would be that. Flashes of excellence like we've seen from her, and then uncharacteristic misses. Young. She's able to reach the green, sits above the hole. Helpful push from the wind. Reaching the green, what will feel like at last. Jamin. From the greenside bunker. Up through the fringe, needs the slow. And it does. Should be able to par from there and give herself one last hole, one last opportunity to take that runner-up position all to herself. Kim Min-ju on 18. The weather's starting to take a turn for the worst. I'm curious if we're going to be able to get out onto the 18th green for the typical celebrations that we've become so accustomed to. She came oh so close to going up and down. This is a tricky one for An Sung-yi, who chipped in for a birdie at the last. Really had to modify that swing to get underneath it. That is not a forgiving area if you do miss the fairway to the right. A lengthy putt for a birdie next. Putt for a par, excuse me. And a little bit of a flair for the dramatic that she saves for the very end. Can't help but smile after that one. And a high five. Loses the ball. Seems like a tough trade-off. So -1, tied for 13th, heading to 18. She got the job done on 17 in minimizing the damage from a poor approach shot. So she will par, head to 18. The chance to go low one last time and take second. This is 16, the final par 3 of the day for both Pak Chi-young and Pak Hyung-kyung. Came that close to a birdie. Just a centimeter or two past the hole. That seems reasonable after the yardage she was staring down. Can't fault the year she's had. I mean, we're still only just on the verge of being through 5 of 30 events. But she has been one of the best on this tour, week in and week out. And Sung-yi a long way back up the hill into the wind as she looks for one final birdie. The speed was perfect from about 40 feet away. Just a little bit too far away to call that a tap-in. And after another poorly struck tee shot, she had that for a bogey. Minimizes the damage a little bit. Her 4th of the day. She goes back to over par. And the tie for 86th as we go back to 18. And this starts to come around at the last moment, but stops short of a birdie. So T13. .143 her aggregate score this week. Now, Pacquiao. Can she get back into the top 10? See just how far she's starting this to the left. Not perfectly straight back either. And then the little acceleration after she had missed. And the three-time champ handles the wind and the downhill approach shot well. Back to 17 with Lee Jung-min. When she won this competition in its very first year in 2014, her score was 7 under. Looks like that's going to be the championship winner once again. It's always been a 3-round event. Unfortunately for Lee Jung-min, just not enough of those in these 2 rounds, but a good positive. And we're down to the final 2 holes here on the lake course. 318 meters is this par 4. I call it a hole where you have to hit over the valley. If you've got some power in your toolbox, you can really push to reach into. We've seen many find the bunker. We've seen many find the rough just before the green. And the pin today is just 7 yards onto the putting surface. This should be okay. Perhaps not. Was always looking left. I thought it was going to be on the other side of that tree, so the tee shots just haven't been clicking for either Park Ji-young and Park Young. Approach on 18, 110 meters. Take the 9-iron, and away you go. How difficult it is. Downhill from the front of the green and away from the pin. Playing into the wind on top of it all. Park Young would likely take just a no drama drive. Looks to be exactly that. Crushes it. Be much more playable than wherever Park Ji-young ends up, which we will find in about a minute. Kang Yoon-ji, her approach, that's great. Her ability to pin seek is just about second to none on this tour. Well, that's a provisional, but that's likely going to need to be the ball that she plays. It's much better the second time through. Well, as soon as Hong Jung-min finishes on 18, it will be officially official. But Pak Bo-gam is going to win the very first time on the LPGA Tour of Korea, and when the dust settles, it will be a comfortable victory as well by 3 strokes. An ear-to-ear grin, and there will be more photos to be framed and kept for a lifetime. Kim Hae-rim, the 3-time champ. One last chance for birdie. Well, she had anticipated that break. She gets the break, but a couple of feet out, so she'll tap in and finish the day with a par, finish the tournament tied for 40th, consecutive rounds of 73. Now on Sunju, this also looks too much left, so maybe not. Just when you think you've got her figured out. Birdie to end the front 9, a birdie to end the back 9. 4 under. Tied for second. I'm sure she would have thought after that early birdie in the round that there was a chance, maybe something special today. Still special, just not quite glimmering. Jung Yoon-ji to get to 3 under. But the putter lets her down at the very end. What a brilliant performance, though, she put together. More than anything, just avoiding the bogeys. It's a 69 after going 1 over in the first round. And bogey free in this second and final round. Park Ji-young still out in the trees looking for her first ball. In the meantime, Park Hyun-kyung playing her tee shot. Gets stuck in that difficult stretch before the green. She has a smile. That's a bit of disbelief, and what can you do? Well, this doesn't look very fun. If it wasn't so soaked, the grass would be up to her knees. But she avoids the penalty and makes the best of a tricky situation. So she didn't need that provisional after all. Sun Ye-bin on the approach at 18. And really picking up now. This is not the hole where you want that to be the case. Coach Yu, though, says no problem. Wonderful approach under the conditions. Hong Jung-min avoids a truly treacherous lie. Not favorable, don't get me wrong. Ponytail being thrown around by the wind. She needs a birdie, otherwise she takes quite the haircut on her prize money today. How close can she get? Getting a stop on the fringe. Par seems most probable. There's still 5 players out on course, so it's not officially official, but she has won the 9th Kyochon 1991 Ladies Open. Enjoying the coverage, and I'm sure her supporters who have stuck with her through highs and lows are relishing this moment almost as much as she is. Sun Ye-bin with a nice touch from the fringe to set up a final par. The third shot for Pak Jiang with much nicer lie than she had previously played. It's just about hole high, slightly off to the right, but a lot less dramatic, that's for certain. Tucked in close, and that would have been it. The last chance for a birdie. So she'll be sharing the runner-up position with Kim Woo-jung, An Sun-ju, Moon Jung-min, and Hang Jung-mi. Well, she's going to celebrate her wins. It's been either high highs or low lows. With birdie number 4, she had to work for that. A dazzling way to finish. Kochiu with a birdie at the last. Her 3rd birdie of the day as well. +6 after 36 holes. Tied for 75th. Sonia being a par to stay under par. Her final hole in the books, a 70 in this second round. Up 15 spots from where she was at the end of round 1. Well, it's going to drop Park Jung almost out of the top 10. Certainly will if she can't salvage bogey. Hong Jung-min, a 6th runner-up finish in her career. That remarkable eagle really shook things up, made it interesting down the stretch, but not able to reel in the winner after all. Consecutive rounds of 70. No small feat with how wet and wild it has been. Park Ji-young will have one final hole to make that stroke back up, but misadventures off the tee costing her. Park Yeol on 18. About hole high. It's a great little wedge shot. We've seen a lot of it the last 90 minutes, even close to 2 hours, but this is 18. Shortened to 310 meters. With the conditions basically from what would be the red tees. The in-play zone around that bunker to the right side of the fairway. If we were teeing off where we were expecting to, since we're a little bit further forward, it brings that significant and sharp drop-off into play. 3 bunkers guarding the right front of the green, a pot bunker to its left with the pin placement today 13 yards off the front and 10 yards from the right. Last tee shot of the day is Park Ji-young, who again is not in the fairway, but better than where she had been just one hole ago. Jungmin from underneath the green, popping it back up, and we'll be hoping that that putt will be her final shot of the day. The crowning moment, the congratulations, the hugs begin. You really don't need a water shower or water bottle shower. The clouds are doing that for you, but moving into position where the coronation will be official on a day that has seen a pretty historic and famous coronation already.
버리면 안 돼.
Just with the way that things were scheduled today, second round beginning last night, some players would have finished very early in the morning. Not quite sunrise for Baklogam, but she's had about 90 minutes, almost even 2 hours at this point to wait, observe, and let it slowly sink in. The culmination of a career's worth of work. Pacquiao, a 69. Much better second round from the first. Lee Jungmin trying to save a par. Inching its way ever closer, but not going to be enough to get all the way there. So the 2014 champion finishes the tournament with a bogey. She was the victor of an event that was supposed to be 3 rounds and ended up as 2 earlier in the season. But +4. 72 in round 1, 76, and tied for 57th. From the edge of the target in the middle of this 18th fairway, it's 115 meters for Park Ji-young. That's going to be a kind bounce if it'll stop. Hit the brake. almost not even worth going through the fairway and regulation stats from this week. It'll hamper the season averages. Definitely an uncharacteristic performance with driver today for Park Ji-young, who has played well. Just has not, unfortunately, been able to play exceptionally. Well, we've been told that the awards presentation will be done inside. I think that's probably for the best. I think everyone will appreciate that. Once these two putt out, it will be celebration time. We'll go through as much of the highlights as we can. We will hear from Bak Bo-gum, take a look at the final leaderboard, and we will send you on your way for this week. We will cross our fingers that when we head northwest to Suwon, that we see nothing but blue skies and much drier conditions. This is anything but your average run-of-the-mill or straightforward putt. There's the first break right. Now it's gonna straighten out and stop about 6 feet short of the hole. She had been on for another top 10 finish. Par in its T12, which would be the second time this season she's done it. With the exception of last week at the that's next week at the NH Investment Securities Ladies Championship. With the exception of last week at the KLPGA Championship, what I'm trying to say. She has made the cut and finished in the top 15 every event this year. Be a great way to end a difficult day for Park Young with the birdie. That's quick and offline. Combination that doesn't often result in birdies. So she taps in, and it is a par. An even par round, to be fair to her, but wasn't able to walk back any of the bogeys she picked up yesterday, of which there were 6. And +6 tied for 75th is the final classification for Park Young. just seconds away from her crowning moment, something that each member of the final group has experienced on multiple occasions. Park Ji-young, the par to stay at T12. 1 under as she finishes. She congratulates Park Ji-young. She mostly survived the war of attrition. Of 132 players that entered this event, only 22 finished under par. Park Ji-young had been one of them. So a tournament that was supposed to look and feel very different
감사합니다.
ends in unique fashion and ends with a career first for Park Bo-gum. Here is her championship winning interview.
사실 예상하지 못한 우승이어서 좀 많이 당황스럽긴 한데요. 근데 지금 아니요. 일단 궂은 날씨 때문에 좀 변수가 많았던 것 같고요. 그리고 올해 시즌을 준비하면서 좀 정확성 있는 티샷과 좀 높은 그린 적중률을 위해서 연습을 많이 했는데 그걸로 인해 이번에 궂은 날씨에도 좋은 샷감을 유지할 수 있었던 것 같습니다. 네. 네. 사실 나가기 전에 긴장이 좀 되긴 하더라고요. 근데 바람도 많이 불고 이거는 모든 선수들이 다 악 조건에서 시합을 하는 거라 생각해서 사실 세컨샷을 굉장히 잘 쳤다 생각했는데 바람이 타지 않고 좀 크게 떨어졌는데 아무래도 퍼터 미스 때문에 보기를 하긴 했는데 그래도 남은 홀들이 많다라는 긍정적인 생각을 하고 넘어갔기 때문에 괜찮았던 것 같습니다. 네. 일단 133m에 맞바람성 슬라이스가 불었고요. 그래서 사실 전날도 좋은 샷으로 인해 좋은 기억이 있었기 때문에 9번 아이언을 쳐야 될까 8번 아이언을 쳐야 될까 고민을 많이 했었는데 그래도 제가 좋아하는 상황 속의 샷이어서 8번 아이언을 플레이해서 좋은 랜딩 지점에 떨어졌는데 그래서 저는 공 들어가는 걸 자세히 보지 못했지만 네, 근데 이게 홀컵 속으로 들어갔다 하더라고요. 주변 사람들이. 네. 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 내일 어버이날이라고 일단 오늘 아침에 알게 됐는데 그래도 오늘 좋은 성적으로 부모님께 보답드리면 어떨까라는 생각을 아침에 했어요. 근데 저와 함께 늘 동행해주시는 저희 어머니께 정말 감사하고 사랑하다고 말해주고 싶고요. 그리고 항상 긍정적인 말씀 해주시는 저희 아버지 그리고 저에게 모든 걸 다 맞춰주는 저희 동생 항상 고맙고 사랑한다고 전해드리고 싶습니다. 네, 감사합니다. 감사합니다.
Well, you have to think that as a little girl falling in love with the game, from the jump tour, dream tour, all the steps that it takes to reach this level, she wouldn't have anticipated that her first win would come under the rain-soaked skies of this LPGA International, Asiade in Busan, but it's never fully what you would expect. It's always authentic, exciting, brand new experience, and exciting to say the least, as she tops the fields through the highlights in this round one. Good start up to 3 under par. That was a very popular score early, and it was bunched up on the par 4 fifth from off the green. Quite the effort, quite the hole out to stay in the thick of it, the hunt. And it became pretty apparent pretty quick that there were some birdies to be had on the day. There would be opportunities to go low. And before the skies opened up, as the afternoon progressed, there were a lot of birdies being made from off the green, whether it's with a pitching wedge or the putter. Back-to-back birdies. You can't ask for a whole lot more of a better start to a round of golf. Then on 8. Started to see a few of the challengers drop off and slip away. Door had been thrown wide open. At that point it was make pars, try and survive, and trust that the birdies would come. She putted so well today, Pak Bogam. Second birdie, 11 and 3. Of course, an ace that, based on these highlights, I don't think we were able to capture, which is unfortunate. Then this one of the more impressive shots of the entire event. A long downhill putt with the rain falling, 2 birdies in a 3-hole window to go up to 7 under, which of course would end up being her championship winning score. She wasn't done with the birdies though. This was on the par 3 6th, downhill, and just inching in would take her even further clear of the field. 3 and 4 at that point, 8 under. It would be short-lived, as there would be a bogey to be had, but that cushion was insurmountable. An Sunju, she had moments, some approach shots that you thought, okay, she might be in it. Her first birdie of the day came at 9, moved her to within 4 with lots of golf to be played, but couldn't consistently find those birdies. In fact, there'd only be one more for her in this second and final round. We mentioned the bogey. Here it was, coming on the 7th hole, 5 on the par 4. Wouldn't say that it reopened the tournament, but I think it made it feel a whole lot more close than it had been. That was a big relief at the end. An even par final round from Kim Woo-jung. She had gone 68 in the opening round to be one of 5 players to finish at 4 under par. This was a brilliant hole out on 14 from the thick, deep rough, Hong Jung-min. And you're thinking, okay, well, she's picked up 3 strokes in 3 holes. Maybe it would be on. But she wasn't able to do any more climbing from that point. An Sunju, birdie number 2, never felt so good. And it would end up being a decisive putt to share the spoils of the runner-up position at 4 under. But in the end, nobody could keep pace or catch up to Pak Bo-gam, who just less than a week before her 25th birthday finally gets that elusive first victory. She adds herself to several players who have done it this year: Chae Eun-woo, Lee Joo-mi, Ie-won, and now Pak Bo-gam as first-time champions in 2023, as it would finish one for her personal history and record books, a 3-stroke victory. Oh Soo-min and Im Ji-yoo, 2 amateurs hovering around the top 10. The former gets there tied for 9th, and Im Ji-yoo finishes up 48 spots, a 75 in round 1, a 68 today for T12. We're going to go inside instead of the 18th green for our awards presentation.
먼저 주최사인 교촌 FM 주식회사의 윤진호 대표이사님입니다. 박수로 맞이해 주시죠. 다음으로 주관사인 한국여자프로골프협회 김순미 수석부회장님 함께해 주셨습니다. 박수로 환영해 주시죠. 이어서 최고의 대회 코스를 준비해 주신 아시아드 컨트리클럽 김도영 대표이사님 참석해 주셨습니다. 자, 마지막으로 교촌 FMB 주식회사 통합 마케팅실 박문성 실장님 참석해 주셨습니다. 자, 본격적인 시상에 앞서서 코스 레코드에 대해서 소개를 해드리도록 하겠습니다. 코스 레코드를 기록한 프로에게는 아시아드 컨트리 클럽에서 제공하는 300만 원의 상금이 수여될 예정이었는데요. 하지만 아쉽게도 이번 대회에서는 그 64타 코스 레코드 기록을 경신한 선수는 없었습니다. 다음번을 기약해 보겠습니다. 자, 그럼 이제 시상을 진행하도록 하겠습니다. 먼저 특별상인 홀인원 시상인데요. 이번 대회에서는 총 4개의 홀 모두 홀인원 상품이 걸려 있었습니다. 먼저 3번 홀 골프 시뮬레이터 QED-i 미니, 그리고 6번 홀 세라젠 안마의자 세트, 13번 홀 포드 랭글러 와이드 트랙 차량, 그리고 16번 홀 헤스텐스의 고급 침대가 상품으로 준비되어 있었습니다. 저도 많은 시상식을 해봤지만 이런 홀인원 시상 순서는 넘어가는 경우가 많은데 또 이번 대회에서는 총 2번의 홀인원이 발생을 했습니다. 모두 시상을 하도록 할 텐데요. 먼저 첫 번째 시상에는 교촌 FM 주식회사 윤진호 대표이사님께서 수고해 주시겠습니다. 먼저 첫 번째 홀인원 시상입니다. 2라운드 6번 홀 호쾌한 샷으로 홀인원을 기록한 행운의 주인공 바로 안소연 선수입니다. 큰 박수로 축하해 주시죠. 무대 앞으로 모시겠습니다. 안소연 선수에게는 건강의료기기 세라젬에서 제공하는 약 800만 원 상당의 안마의자 세트가 전달되겠습니다. 여러분 큰 박수로 축하해 주시죠. 네, 홀인원을 기록한 안소연 선수 축하드립니다. 자, 계속 이어서 이번에는 두 번째 홀인원의 주인공을 모셔보겠습니다. 두 번째 시상에는 헤스텐스 박상현 총괄 매니저께서 수고해 주시겠습니다. 매니저님 무대 앞으로 오시겠고요. 자, 그럼 발표하겠습니다. 2라운드 16번 홀 홀인원을 기록한 박보경 선수입니다. 축하드립니다. 네, 무대 앞으로 오시겠습니다. 박보경 선수에게는 스웨덴 왕실 침대 브랜드 헤스텐스에서 제공하는 약 5천만 원 상당의 이알라 BJX 럭셔리 침대가 전달되겠습니다. 박보경 선수 축하드립니다. 큰 박수로 축하해 주시죠.
여기 앞에 보세요. 하나, 하나, 둘.
네, 이것으로 두 개의 홀인원 시상 순서를 마치도록 하겠고요. 다음으로는 아마추어 1위에 대한 시상 순서가 있겠습니다. 이 상은 본 대회에 출전한 아마추어 선수 중에서 가장 좋은 성적을 기록한 선수에게 전달되는 상인데요. 시상에는 한국여자프로골프협회 김순미 수석 부회장님께서 수고해 주시겠습니다. 자, 그럼 발표하겠습니다. 아마추어 1위 오수민 선수 축하드립니다. 무대 앞으로 오시겠습니다. 네, 오수민 선수 아마추어 1위 시상까지 마쳐봤는데요. 그럼 이제 제9회 교촌 1991 레이디스 오픈 대망의 우승자 시상을 진행하도록 하겠습니다. 제9회 교촌 1991 레이디스 오픈 대망의 우승자는 1라운드 69타, 2라운드 68타, 토탈 137타, 7언더파로 우승을 차지한 박보경 프로입니다. 축하드립니다. 네, 여러분 아낌없는 박수로 박보경 프로를 축하해 주시길 바랍니다. 이렇게 박보경 선수가 우승을 차지했는데요. 제9회 교촌 1991 레이디스 오픈 우승자인 박보경 프로에게는 우승 상금 1억 4,400만 원과 트로피, 우승 자켓이 수여되고 부상으로는 세라젠 마스터 V6, 파우제 M2, 세라못이 수여되겠습니다. 자, 먼저 교촌 FMB 주식회사 윤진호 대표이사님께서 우승자에게 우승 자켓을 입혀주시겠습니다. 대표이사님 우승 자켓을 전달해 주시죠. 박보경 선수 축하드립니다. 큰 박수로 여러분 축하를 보내주시죠. 네, 이렇게 우승 자켓을 입었고 다음으로는 대회 우승 트로피를 전달해 주시겠습니다. 축하드립니다. 네, 우승 트로피를 들어올린 박보경 선수에게 아낌없는 축하의 박수를 보내주시길 바랍니다. 네, 이어서는 우승 상금을 전달해야겠죠. 1억 4,400만 원의 시상수표를 전달해 드리겠습니다. 박보경 선수 축하드립니다. 네, 계속해서 우승자 부상을 전달하도록 하겠습니다. 세라젠 마스터 V6, 파우제 M2, 그리고 세라못을 전달해 주시겠습니다. 여러분 박수를 축하해 주시죠. 네, 대표이사님 수고 많으셨습니다. 자, 이어서는 한국여자프로골프협회 김순미 수석 부회장님께서 꽃목걸이를 전달해 주시겠습니다. 네, 박보경 선수에게 꽃목걸이를 직접 걸어주시죠. 축하드립니다. 네, 이번에도 기념사진 촬영을 이어서 진행해 보겠고요. 네, 부회장님 수고 많으셨습니다. 자, 이어서 아시아드 컨트리클럽 김도영 대표이사님께서 이제 꽃다발을 전달해 주시겠습니다. 축하드립니다. 네, 박보경 선수에게 뜨거운 박수를 보내주시죠. 네, 시상에 수고해주신 분들께 감사의 말씀을 전합니다. 자, 그리고 이어서 매년 진행해 오고 있는 교촌만의 기부 문화를 통해서 또 뜻깊은 시간을 가져보겠습니다. 올해도 18번 홀에 마련된 교촌 1991 기부존을 통해서 참여 선수들의 티샷이 안착될 때마다 50만 원의 기부금이 적립됐습니다. 본 대회 3일 동안 안착된 성공 적립금과 교촌 FMB에서 제공하는 추가 기금을 더해서 총 3천만 원이 마련됐습니다. 이렇게 마련된 기부금은 대회 개최 주인 경남 지역 유소년 스포츠 꿈나무들에게 전달될 예정입니다. 기부금 전달은 교촌 FMB 주식회사 윤진호 대표이사님 그리고 우승자 박보경 프로가 함께 진행해 주시겠습니다. 여러분 박수로 축하해 주시죠. 네, 교촌 1991 레이디스 오픈 다양한 사회공헌 활동을 함께하는 나눔의 대회로 명성이 높은데요. 올해 대회 역시 지역 골프 꿈나무들을 위해서 원포인트 레슨도 진행하며 이 나눔의 문화를 지속적으로 이어나가고 있습니다. 앞으로의 활동도 계속해서 기대하도록 하겠습니다. 자, 그리고 내일이 5월 8일이잖아요. 어버이날을 맞아서 좀 특별한 순서를 준비해봤습니다. 우승자인 박보경 프로의 부모님께 직접 카네이션을 달아드리는 시간을 가져보도록 할 텐데요. 여러분 모두 큰 박수로 부모님을 맞이해 주시길 바랍니다. 네, 제9회 교촌 레이디스 오픈 우승자인 박보경 프로가 이 자리까지 올 수 있었던 거 이렇게 앞에 계신 부모님 덕분이 아닐까 하는 생각이 드는데요. 여러분 큰 박수로 이 자리를 축하해 주시죠.
A lovely gesture honoring mom the day before Mother's Day here in Korea. Pretty good haul for Pak Bo-gyam, who of course gets her 144 million won for winning the tournament. Black jacket, the floral necklace, and she'll lay her head down on the bed she won for her ace pretty comfortably today, as she is now a champion. Also 30 million won donated from the Kyochon donation zone that we saw faded in the 18th fairway with all the rain that we saw. But a nice way to end. There were moments where we weren't sure how much, if any, golf we were going to get, and for that, we must commend you and say thank you for sticking with us. It's always difficult when tee times are being delayed, rounds are being canceled. It makes it chaotic, but for the players, for the supporters, the commitment to the tour is noted, and it is very much appreciated. Just as the efforts from our incredible SBS Golf crew is appreciated for putting this event on through some very unpleasant conditions, keeping the camera lenses as dry as possible to try and make sure that we could bring this to you as easily and as high quality as possible. I've been Adam Jenkins signing off from the Asiade Country Club in Busan. We will see you next week as we head from the southwest of the country to the northeast to Suwon for the NH Investment and Securities Ladies Championship. Should be a fantastic, and fingers crossed that it is a dry tournament. This was the 9th event, the 9th edition of this Kyochon 1991 Ladies Open, and it was just a sincere pleasure to bring it to you. So for one final time, we say thank you and so long, and we look forward to seeing you next week in Suwon for more on the LPGA Tour of Korea. So long.